Hello, this is Serrano, Texas Justice Review. Today I want to talk about judges passing cases on to one another. Let's get straight to the point. I was going to discuss my Zoom meeting with Judge Stacey Williams this morning, but something came up. And she's talking about sending a tort case that was filed in district court concerning fraud, misrepresentation, official misconduct, and all that kind of stuff back to a family court. I think she's kind of maybe believed that the case, the offense, the fraud, and all the negligence and the manipulation of the lawyers and the crimes basically that she committed was done in family court. But family court could only do a distribution of property. Once there's fraud, once you catch them lying and withholding money in illegal proceedings, those are all tort claims. They're fraud cases. Fraud cases belong in district court. So it went to Judge Stacey, one went to Gina Slaughter, one went to Martin Hoffman, and it went to Maria Aceves. They've been passing the cases along to Judge Michael Snipes specifically. He was accused in the past of steering cases from the prosecutor's office to certain judges. So he knows the tricks, but he didn't meet somebody like me as a publisher. I investigate stuff. Here's how it works. The judges use rule number 1.08 to transfer cases that another judge say, hey, can you send this case to me? Can we bypass the chief judge, administrative judge? Just send it to me. Use rule 108. It'll be fine. Or a judge may say, hey, I don't want this case. Can I send you this case? Rule 108, can I use that? Sure, go ahead. Nobody's going to know anything. They just transfer it on rule 108. It's not how it works. They're bypassing an order from the chief judge, and it requires a recusal. Here's how it works. Rule 108 has two elements to it only, and it does not give a judge the right to pass a case to another judge. It is illegal. That's why you have an automatic assignment system, that when the case is assigned to a judge, you have to take that case. Before I go off point, listen to this. Rule 108 is what they use. Only a plaintiff on filing that believes that this case that they're filing is going to relate to another case can make the motion that I like this case, the new case that is filed, let's say it's DC.251689. 1689 is related to DC last year 244686. And the plaintiff can make that emotion. That's the first filing on a new claim. Second, the defendant may say, hey, this is the double filing. This relates to that case. I want to make a motion to join that case with that one. Only those people can use Rule 108. But nobody follows the law here. The judges are using that rule. There is nothing in the statute that says a judge can use Rule 106 or 1.06 or 1.08 to send a case to another judge. What that does, it voids the automatic system, assignment system. It violates that, and it's cause for official misconduct, because you're violating that order of sending the case. In other words, if any judge can say, hey, I don't want a case, say, hey, you want this case, hey, it's your case, and if this case here goes back to family court, you can't do your case. No, it doesn't work that way, but they're doing it. They're doing it because there is no reform. They're doing it because there's no watchman. They're doing it because lawyers won't challenge the judges. No pro se people will challenge the judges. But I do. In addition, there are canon rules, which is the State Board of Judicial Conduct. And here's what it says. It says that, and I just had this in my hand. Case law. All right, I'm going to tell you the canon rule, number 2 and number 3. It says if a case is assigned to a judge, the judge must hear that case. They must hear it. They cannot just say, I don't want the case, I want to send it to somebody else. They must hear it. And there are other statutes. Here we go. So, Texas Judicial Recusal and Assignment Rule, Texas Constitution 511, Texas Government Code 74.056 says the only way to get out of a case for a judge is to recuse themselves. That is the only way you can get rid of a case. And then when you recuse yourself, it goes to the chief judge. He reassigns it. But Michael Snipes in family court called up Martin Huffman in district court, Maria Estevez, and had 2 cases sent to him illegally. He should have been charged for that, but nobody's watching. Then there's Canon Rule 2 and Canon Rule 3B1. A judge must hear the case that is assigned to them, and only by recusal can they get rid of that case. A recusal means I don't want this case for whatever reason, and they give their reason, or maybe they don't even have to give a reason. I just don't want this case, and they recuse themselves. That's how a judge gets out of a case. Recusal only, because it's going to violate the automatic assignment system that gave you that case. So those are the 2 laws. Rule number 1.08, party initiated, not judge initiated, and they've been using this to help each other get cases. Family court has limited statutory jurisdiction over cases. They could only distribute money and property and stuff like that. And so what's happening is this judge, Stacey Williams, I went for today, she's asking the question whether or not the case belongs in family court. No, the only way that Judge Stacey Williams can get rid of a tort fraud case that is actually in a default judgment in her courtroom, and she has to now rule on it, and also her case is tied to Alice Pandez in the property in the county of Dallas. So only by, we're talking about the property. I sued fraud on the property. I sued malicious conduct by the lawyer on the property. I sued concealing assets from defrauding the property. I sued for fraud on malicious, what do you charge your attorney with, conduct on the property. All this is in district court. Family court doesn't deal with that. So today she made a comment that, well, maybe this case belongs in family court. You can't do that. If you don't want this case, or any judge doesn't want a case, they must recuse themselves under the two laws that I just told you. But these judges says, well, you know, it kind of feels like family, kind of feels like probate. It can feel whatever it feels like. But you have a tort claim for fraud in your courtroom in district court that when they put it in the system, it went to you. It was automatically assigned to you. When you take a case and says, hey, I don't want it, you violate that. Huffman and Estevez violated it, and they are going to answer for it. So can a judge reassign the case or cross-record the case to another family court case or probate case? No, they can't do that. Even if they came from probate and fraud and from family and fraud, it's your case. It's fraud. Family case doesn't do it. Case doesn't commit. They don't commit fraud and deal with fraud there. So that's how they're trying to circumvent the case. And I'm trying to tell this judge, you can't just unassign a case from yourself. You have to see it through. That is the law. Canon law and state law, you have to see it through. And I was kind of concerned that she was going there today. So I'm trying to put it out there. A judge cannot just transfer a case. If it's assigned to you, you got to see it through. Especially if it's in default judgment, you now have to see it through. Then there was 2 attorneys from the family court. New attorneys showed up, unauthorized, practice as an attorney in this case, and she allowed him to speak. That's fine, but you still can't get rid of my case in front of your courtroom unless you rule whether they violated, not violated, punish the court. The house is directly related to the fraud and that I filed before Judge Williams. If it's directly related to the fraud, it's no longer family. They've got their own issue, but you now have supersede power over it. So no, you can't transfer it back down, because you're going to get in trouble with the other 2 judges. So she has to see this case through. There's an order preventing them from selling my house and violating my rights. They're trying to get her to dismiss that so they can continue to arrest me. No, Judge Stacey Williams has jurisdiction over the house because it's part of her case. Serrano, thanks for watching. No legal advice here. And bye for now.